What can I do for you?
Oh, little song, little dance, Batman's head on a lance. Tell me, what do you know about...
I don't know anything about Batman.
Really? Well, how about a little you and me?
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's a day late, but we're still here to talk about this week in Batman. Obviously, we had a Batman 114, a debut in Arkham City Order of the World, as well as the Batman The Adventure Continues Season 2. Obviously, a continuation of the Batman The Animated Series. We also have an update on the Batman Catwoman special that was supposed to be coming out. And here to talk with me about that is my good friend, the man, the contributor to BatmanNews.com, and the man behind Pop Guy Culture. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well, man. Sorry we had to push this back a day. My day job, we were doing some training that I was leading, so I've been all over the place. But I'm here now. I'm happy. I'm dog sitting, so we might get some commentary from some dogs as well. It's going to be an eventful day.
Absolutely, and definitely expect Josh to be back on the Comics Aficionados this Saturday. So he will be making his triumphant return to the live stream.
You know, good 3-week break, back in, ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. So let's get to the big, well, not a big news story, but a news story. Yep. We know that they had announced Batman Catwoman Special #1 that was going to be coming out in the not too distant future. The big thing about this, you know, besides I guess it's connected to Batman Catwoman, which I haven't personally loved, but the artist on it was John Paul Leon. Obviously, he died of cancer not too long ago. I believe this was the last work that that's going to be published to his that we know of. Seems disappointing that they canceled it, but they do say that they're going to re-solicit it and release it at another date. Josh, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably some logistical things here. I don't believe he actually finished his work on the issue, so it makes sense that they need to re-solicit it. And I think also part of it's just a little bit of a respect thing. I'm a huge fan of John Paul Leon. I was considering him one of my favorite artists in the industry. So his passing alone for me was really sad, and he was young. But it also stinks because I thought he was so talented and was just starting to step in the spotlight that I felt like he deserved. So as far as the issue itself goes, like honestly, I could care less about them pushing it and potentially re-soliciting it. My whole thing is that they do what's quote unquote right by John Paul Leon, and if part of this is what they need to do to make that happen, then I'm all for it.
Absolutely. So we're definitely expecting to see this at a later date, and you know, something that we should look forward to. Not loving the Batman Catwoman series, but this is definitely something we should all look forward to.
Agreed. You know, JPL for me is one of those artists that I can just love and respect his art so much, even if I don't care for the story. So whenever it does come out, I will be getting it.
Well, I can tell you this, as far as the 3 comics that we have got this week to talk about, the art for the most part is not a problem. In fact, there are a couple pretty good issues in here.
Yeah.
But the first one to talk about, Batman 114, obviously Jorge Jimenez, the artist on there, just sterling work as ever. Just the comic itself looks so gorgeous, but it's once again held back by the writing of James Tynion. In my opinion, we finally get this. Well, finally, like we've all been looking forward to it, we get this Peacekeeper 1 versus Peacekeeper 10 conflict that finally happens.
Yep.
It's cool. It's action-packed, but there's no suspense to it. I wasn't really looking forward to it because they just introduced Peacekeeper 10.
Yeah, I laughed when you said we finally get, and you paused and said as if we were looking forward to it. That's exactly how I felt. And I wrote the review for this issue, and when I was writing it, I was trying to figure out how to write about this because I enjoyed that there was some energy in this book, finally, but it wasn't good. Like, it still wasn't good. I didn't really care what was happening. It was just nice to have some sort of momentum. And even then, there wasn't really any plot development. But yeah, the fight between Peacekeeper 1 and Peacekeeper X, I thought was a good fight, and it's all on the shoulders of Jorge Jimenez. Like, he did incredible work. It was a fun fight. It was kind of brutal, but again, I didn't really care.
There's a couple of hokey moments in there. Like when they start attacking Peacekeeper 1 and he starts using his arm blade, they're like, oh my goodness, he's using his arm blade. It's like, you attacked him and he's using his weapon? Okay, I guess we're supposed to be surprised by that. I thought that was kind of a stupid line. And then there's another point where Simon Saint authorizes Peacekeeper 10 to use his full arsenal, and Peacekeeper 10's like, but this weapon's not authorized for use in the city. It's like, what were you built for?
Yeah.
for desert combat? Get the hell out of here. What do you mean it's not authorized for use in the city?
Yeah, I feel like James Tynion has a tendency to write like really heavy-handed lines to try and make things seem cooler or more dangerous. Those are examples. Even when they discussed Peacekeeper X's suit, there's a line like, oh, this suit costs $500 million more than Peacekeeper 1 suit. And I was like, we don't need that. Like, it's pointless. It just makes it seem stupid and cheesy and quote unquote comic booky, but kind of in a way that doesn't sit well with people. Go ahead.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. And it's just a ridiculous notion. The dialogue you could have put in there is, but sir, we haven't fully tested this weapon out. Is it even safe?
Yeah. Or like, hey, this is going to destroy, potentially hurt multiple innocent people, just anything along those lines. But the way it was written was
those buildings aren't cleared yet.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to use that if it's not done yet. Right.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. One of the things I was trying to figure out too is, in the timeline of the comic, Peacekeeper 01's been around for like maybe a month, a few weeks. And then you got Peacekeeper X with this like crazy intense suit. But if Saint's entire plan for the city and the magistrate relies on Peacekeeper 01, why didn't he just give him Peacekeeper X's suit to begin with? Like, it doesn't make sense why you keep this like, golden Cadillac over here just hiding.
Yeah, it's a lot of it doesn't make sense. And he's apparently a puppet to Scarecrow, similar to what Batman was. But we've seen Peacekeeper 1 under the spell of Scarecrow for 4 or 5 issues in a row now. It's like, It's getting pretty repetitive.
Well, this is the first. Well, I mean, you had an incident in a previous issue, but this is the first time they're really like having him go crazy. But my problem is, it has been 3 or 4 issues, and you haven't really had a growth. Like, he's just kind of been at the same level. And even in this issue, it's like Scarecrow keeps messing with him to make him more paranoid and a little more insane, but he doesn't really get more paranoid or more insane. He just fights Peacekeeper X. It doesn't line up very well.
The other part of this, we get kind of 2 silly moments with Mighty Molly. At the beginning, Mighty Molly's talking to Poison Ivy and has an epiphany. I know exactly what Scarecrow's doing. I need to tell Batman what his plan is. And then on the very last page, we have this ultra cringy, come with me if you want to live Terminator moment with Miracle Molly, Mighty Molly, whatever, saving Batman. Once again, because Batman cannot save himself anymore.
Yeah, you know what? At this point, I think the comic might do some good by having Mighty Molly and Hurricane come in, save the day. I thought it was cringy too. It just seems forced. It's Tynion trying to make his characters important. That's all it really is. I do think you can kind of see that the seeds have been planted for this quote unquote mind machine. But I don't fully understand why it's needed. Maybe I will in a few issues, but he's already got Mad Hatter's tech. Like, that seems like it should be enough. But yeah, this all kind of just came out of nowhere. So,
just overall, where the story is, I don't know if you're getting this feeling that I'm getting. Like, I almost feel like Fauci is Scarecrow. Like, there's no way Tynion meant to do this on purpose. Is this like some meta commentary of what we're experiencing in the real world right now? Or perhaps he didn't realize, like, he accidentally flipped the switch.
Yes. So I've thought that as well. It was forever ago, months ago, that I made a comment about in one of my reviews about how Tynion was kind of tying this back to our politics and how I don't think it was landing the way he wanted. It just seems like because
you got, like, last week there's a guy going to get milk and the magistrate are like arresting him.
Yeah. It's I started having concerns that this was gonna happen. It's happening a little different than I expected, but back when he first started the Scarecrow arc and they were leaving scarecrows in people's homes, and I was like, oh, he's trying to go with this whole straw man type commentary. And I made a comment that I hope he doesn't lean too heavily into what our current situations are. And he is. And I think he's doing the opposite of what he wants to do.
Yeah, because it feels like the magistrate are like all the people that are wanting to throw everyone in jail.
Yeah. And then Saint's a lunatic. It's just weird because he's trying to paint people in positive lights that they're not. They shouldn't be.
He's trying to make Simon Saint kind of sympathetic. Like he's crying when he has to order the explosion and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. If he thinks it's a sympathetic character and there's anything redeemable about that character, then it makes me nervous for James Tynion as a person and how he views people.
Yeah, I don't think this is landing exactly like he thinks it is. If you're going to read a Fear State Batman comic, go read Detective Comics, because Batman just isn't doing it. It feels like James Tynion is absolutely mentally checked out of the Batman office as he's counting his Substack money, waiting to get out of there.
I can agree. Oh, well, I would say I agree, but he's committing a lot of the same crimes he committed in Joker War. So I just think he's phoning it in.
Yeah, Joker War wasn't supposed to be the beginning of a run. He was supposed to get them to issue 100 for the new writer, and he just happened to become the full-time writer, and it feels exactly like he's biding time.
Yeah. It's another example of a big event as well, where really nothing's happening, and what we are focusing on doesn't feel like it's what we should be focusing on. I feel like he's missing the mark across the board.
Absolutely. So I'm still unimpressed by Fear State. Now let's move into Arkham City Order of the World. This is the debut, issue number 1. Writer Dan Watters, not a huge fan. Sometimes Dan's a hit, sometimes Dan's a miss. This time we have artist Danny. Certainly has a unique feel to it, kind of something more you would expect in the crime noir, like indie scene as far as the art goes. This kind of ties into A-Day, and there's only one therapist, I guess, who made it because they had the day off. And they're tracking down all the lunatics. I thought they were all dead, but apparently a bunch of them escaped out into Gotham City. And this doctor is working with the GCPD to kind of track these villains down. There's a lot of psychobabble bull crap in this. The main character comes off as really pretentious, especially the point where there's Joker's not crazy. He's the most calculating person in the history of the world. It's like, you do not get Joker, Dan Watters. The reason that you can't predict where he is because he's absolutely insane.
Yep. I completely, I liked and disliked this book at the same time. There were many aspects that I enjoyed. You mentioned that kind of crime noir aspect. I loved that. I loved the creepiness of this issue. Like, they definitely did a lot of creepy things. Like
the Tin-Eyed Man.
Yes. I loved what they did with the Tin-Eyed Man, and I kind of like conceptually what they're doing here. It is a very slow-paced book. I mean, pretty much the intention of this issue is just to introduce the characters that are going to be key players, and there's a lot. I think you have like 8 villains alone, plus your main character and some of the police force, and then just the exposition tying it to what's going on with A-Day and in some ways where we are with Fear State, even though this feels completely out of time from Fear State. But yeah, I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. I liked certain moments and aspects, but it didn't really hook me.
There's like dueling narratives. You're reading the doctor's notes like from a notebook, but you're also getting a narration from the Tin-Eyed Man. And there is a reveal at the end. I think it was supposed to blow your socks off. I was just like, okay. But I'm with you that the A-Day factor of this thing, if it was just Elseworlds or something you like by itself, stand alone, I think it would be more effective. But tying it into A-Day, it's like we're seeing all the fallout from that. What is this book here for?
Yeah. I don't know. The only thing that because I actually was wondering what the point of the book itself was. Why are we having this? It almost felt like they wanted something kind of creepy that was in continuity to align this time of year with maybe Halloween. But I think at some point someone probably said, hey, we know that Arkham kind of got busted open. What happened to these prisoners that potentially escaped? And I think I thought no one
escaped. I thought everyone died. That's why Joker was so bad.
Well, you had the whole explosion thing with Mahoney, who's Peacekeeper 1 now, and him, quote unquote, rescuing people, but we all know it was actually Batman. So I just assumed that since there was an explosion, someone probably escaped. But Yeah, they haven't been very clear at all. And I think they weren't clear on purpose to figure out what the hell they wanted to do.
And it's certainly, I got that feeling just looking at the cover. I was like, is this supposed to be a comic book or is this a novel I find in the airport?
Yeah, agreed. The cover didn't do much to draw me in.
It's really generic. Okay, we've got the silhouette of some villains that we know who they are.
Yeah.
That's it. I recommend this comic. I think it's a change of pace. It's got some interesting ideas that they're introducing. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's meaning for the main protagonist, if she's even a protagonist, I guess at the end of this, to be completely unlikable. I wouldn't say the character is completely unlikable, but there's certainly an unlikability factor to the main character, Josh. I definitely feel like that is a drawback. Although I do recommend this comic.
Yeah, I know I said I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's more so to see where they're going to go with future issues. As far as the main character, she's written in a way that you're not supposed to be sure where she falls on the spectrum of good and bad. And that's kind of why you have that feeling. It's the same reason I have that feeling. And it's one of the downfalls. It's a minor downfall, but just for now, this issue is you're not exactly sure who you're supposed to root for. And I feel like every story you need to have someone that you do root for, that you want to see succeed, and you don't know who that is yet. So I completely understand what you're talking about with the main character. But yeah, overall, I would recommend it. Why not? It's a solid start, and I'm curious to see where it leads.
Now let's get into this last issue. I have not been reading Batman: The Adventures Continue because I never really watched the animated series. I've been waiting for the first 2 seasons to come out in trades, and I'm going to read them with my kid. Now, I did come in here and read issue 5 because we're going to review it here on the channel, and I came away like really blown away. Paul Dini and Alan Burnett knock it out of the park. The art by Rick Burchett looks like a cartoon. This thing is fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So we have to hit the pause button. You haven't seen the animated series?
I've watched Mask of the Phantasm. I've seen a few issues here or episodes here and there, but nah.
What? Oh, I wish I had my camera on because I'm being so over the top with my emotions right now. If you get it, look, I've got the freaking DVD collection. I will mail it to you so you can watch it. But it's
like $100 investment.
It's fine. I'm good. I got it around Christmas time and it was on sale. But no, this is something you have to watch. Like it's incredible. Like I would get off topic with that'll be another video for another time. Yeah, so I will say for the book itself for season 2, season 1, I picked up and read a few issues because I really enjoyed the previous Batman the Animated Series comics that were published years ago, and I love the TV series. But when season 1 came out, I read a couple of issues and it just seemed hokey. Like it just didn't really vibe with me, and it seemed too juvenile. And I was like, well, it's not what I wanted it to be, and I left it alone. And I had honestly just ignored it until we referenced covering this issue, and I picked it up and I was like, damn, I need to go back and catch up. Because yeah, it's excellent. I mean, but this is Paul Dini. It's very in line with what you get in the animated series in general. Like, it's just good Batman storytelling.
And the crazy thing is, this is essentially the Magistrate, but in the animated series. And he's wrapped up the entire first story arc that we're still in the middle of with Fear State, and he does it in 16 pages.
Yep. What are they calling these guys? The M
Squad, something like that.
M Squad. Yeah. So I started reading it and I laughed because I knew you would have a comment on that. And I'm like, man, everyone's going for this, but it's just done so much better. And that's a testament to Paul Dini as a writer and a storyteller. But yeah, for me, I got the vibes of the animated series. It's fun and serious when it needs to be, but not too serious. The characters are well developed. The story is well thought through. Like this is what you want from a comic book.
Absolutely. So this one's a highly recommend. This is like a 4.5 star comic. Probably closer to a 4.5 star. The art's fantastic. Fits perfectly with the tone of the comic book series itself. You get a couple cameos. You get some Nightwing. You get some Robin in there as they're hearing the tale of this encounter that Batman had with this mayor early on. Sounds like it was about year 1 time frame. And you get some little quips from Alfred. It's a really good family dynamic that you just don't get in the comic books right now. They actually like each other. Yeah.
I mean, right now, dissension within the Bat family is kind of like the it thing to write in mainstream comics. This goes back to hey, we're all heroes. We all have the same mission. And like you said, we like each other, which it's nice and refreshing.
Absolutely. So this one's a highly recommend. Really enjoyed this one. So, as far as this week in Batman, we've got a cancellation or at least a delay on the Batman Catwoman #1 special with John Paul Leone on the art. Yeah. Batman 114, it continues not hitting with me. If I'm going to read a Batman comic in Fear State, it's going to be Detective Comics. It feels like Mariko Tamaki has a better handle on James Tynion's overall story, just in my book. Arkham City Over the World definitely has a different feel to it. Not sure exactly how I feel about it, but I would recommend it at this point. But if you're going to buy one Batman comic this week, it is Batman The Adventures Continue Season 2, #5.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
All right, you got anything else to say, Josh, before we wrap this bad boy up?
I'll just say one thing. In my Batman review, I did say it's moving along at such a slow pace that I wish DC would just put it out of its misery.
Couldn't agree more.